Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar on the ocean energy potential and future in India. Before we look into the agenda and start the webinar, I want to cover some of the logistics to make sure that you get the most out of this webinar. As such, as of now, all are on the mute lines. So there is a chat feature within the webinar control that you can use to post the questions throughout the duration of the webinar. There will be speakers who will be giving the presentations and followed by the panel discussion. So whenever you feel you want to ask any question or you want to capture any particular points around it, please do make it possible to put it into the chat box. There is a question and answers panel as well. So you can put some of those questions over there as well. We are going to gather the remaining question as much as possible as we can answer during the question and answer session at the end of the panel discussion, and we'll try to see if we can capture most of them. But if we are not able to capture, we'll try to answer them probably later at the end of the webinar offline, which will be disseminated in form of like an email or a summary of the webinar. The webinar audio will also be recorded. This is currently live stream on YouTube as well. So this will be available post the webinar as well. The webinar will be in the public viewing and can be viewed at the later stages as well. In case if you have any question or feedback, you can drop in your emails or you can post your suggestions on kajol@wri.org. And most of our webinar series or about the new technology events that is going to happen in future will be available on our LinkedIn page. With this, I will just start quickly with the agenda. So just to give a quick background on like ocean energy, why we are thought of like doing a webinar on the ocean energy is, this is one of the renewable energy sources for energy undeniably contributing to a more sustainable energy supply. But the task associated with the manufacturing, installation, operation, maintenance, decommissioning of the ocean energy devices is humongous. And the ocean energy technologies are still relatively immature, but they continue to advance. There are new advancements that are happening in this particular sector. And after years of deployment and development, only small pilots have been able to come in the global market as well as in India. The agenda is also spread around to discuss some of the important questions around the new developments in the new ocean energy technology, the readiness of some of these technologies and the challenges pertaining to scaling some of these technologies in different states. There are a few pilots which are going on in Kerala state, so how the other states can learn from some of these pilots which are already happening in India, and how we can draw some global learnings from the development which is happening beyond India as well. We will start the webinar with our first presentation on the ocean energy technologies by my colleague Vaishak Kumar, followed by the other presentations that we have in line. So I'll request now Vaishak to start his presentation. And just to give a quick background on Vaishak, Vaishak is a project associate with the energy team and has been tracking the new technologies and their development in India and globally. So now I request Vaishak to give a presentation on ocean energy technology.
Sure. Thanks, Kajol. Just sharing my screen. Yeah. Kajol, I guess you need to just unshare yours first so that I can hear.
Yeah, you can share your screen. Yes.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen now and that you can see and hear me well as well.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So I will be giving a quick overview on the different ocean energy technologies and the potential that has been identified for India. So since more technical presentations are lined up that goes into much more detail into these technologies as well as the potential. So I will be providing a brief overview to set the context and move forward. Yeah. So looking at what ocean energy is. So ocean energy is energy derived from the ocean's movements or its physical and chemical state. So the technologies or the ways we can harness ocean energy I've mentioned to the left from waves, tides, and currents are mainly to do with the ocean's movements. While the ones like on the right of the screen, mainly pertaining to ocean temperature differences and salinity gradients, are to do by harnessing the ocean's physical and chemical states. So these basically classify or are 5 different technologies or 5 different ways in which we can harness ocean energy. So namely, they are like we can harness the energy from waves, tides, currents, from the ocean temperature differences, as well as the salinity gradients. Okay, so going through this one by one, just one sec. Yeah, so going through these technologies one by one to get to know them a bit more deeper. So the first way, I mean, one of the popular ways that ocean energy is extracted is through ocean wave energy converters. So they work on the principle of, absorbing both the kinetic energy as well as the potential energy that is present in the waves, or sometimes even both, depending on the technology. And although there are many different technologies for wave energy converters, most of them or all of them, in fact, can be classified under 3 main operating principles. So whichever the wave energy technology that we can, which we see, that is being developed on the prototype stage or on the R&D stage, these can be classified under basically these 3 main operating principles. So one is the oscillating water column. So what happens is when the waves come in, there's a chamber in which the water level moves up and down. This compresses the air, which drives an air turbine. Okay, so that would be the picture to the top left. So the movement of the waves compresses the air in a particular chamber, which then drives an air turbine for power. So this is the oscillating water column. The second is the principle based on oscillating bodies. So we have different bodies that can be floating, submerged, moored, that harness the movement of the waves. So they can move up and down, to and fro, side to side, etc. These movements are usually transferred, amplified, and is used to run a turbine for getting power. So this is OB, or the oscillating bodies. And third working principle is called the overtopping devices, OD, where there are these structures that capture waves or the water deposited by the waves on these structures, which is then held and then extracted through a pipe to power a turbine. So these are basically the 3 different working principles on which different wave energy technologies can be classified. Okay. So moving on to the ocean tidal energy. Yeah, moving on to the ocean tidal energy. So basically, this works on 2 principles. One that is based on the tidal cycle. So based on the 12-hour tidal cycles, once the tides come in, there is a difference of height, as well as when also it harnesses the inflow and the outflow of the tides. So based on these 2 concepts, you can have like a tidal barrage system or a tidal stream. So a tidal barrage system works on a similar principle to basically a hydropower station. So when it is high tide, the water at a higher level is held in a like a barrage, and once there is low tide, the water at this higher level is focused through a pipe, which then runs a turbine. So this is how power is extracted. The second is the tidal stream method, where when we have the tides, the onset of the tide, so we see that water moves in and moves out. So this flow of water is harnessed through tidal streams. So basically we have these turbines or different technologies that may in fact look like wind turbines, but these are actually water turbines that are placed underwater. So these, like when the tides come in and out, the water flows across these turbines, which cause the motion, and power is generated. So these are basically the 2 principles on which ocean tidal energy works. Third, coming to ocean current energy. So we have these global ocean currents, something similar to the Gulf Stream, that happen in particular patterns. So we can place turbines or different technologies on the path of these ocean currents so that we can get power from them. But compared to wave and tidal, this has not progressed that much, because usually these ocean currents are located far offshore and in much deeper waters. So the research development or the development of pilot projects or demonstration projects or for R&D purposes is much more difficult. Hence, this has not witnessed much technology development when compared to technologies like tidal or wave. Coming to like the fourth concept, so we can harness the, let's say, the temperature difference of the ocean. So if you go deep, so there is a drop in temperature, and at about, let's say, 1000 meters depth, the temperature is more or less like about 4 degrees centigrade is a constant. So and for this technology to work successfully, we need a temperature difference of about 20 degrees centigrade. So if the surface temperature is more than, let's say, 25, so it creates a temperature difference. And this temperature difference is used to power, to run turbines through different types of thermal cycles. So one being the open cycle, where the warm water on the surface itself is used, is vaporized and used. The next being a closed cycle, where instead of warm water, another working fluid is used. Or when the open and closed cycle work works one after the other, where the closed cycle works first and then it's the open cycle. This is considered as a hybrid cycle. So in summary, this takes, harnesses the fact that there are temperature differences between the depths of the ocean. So that is how ocean thermal energy is extracted. It's also commonly abbreviated as OTEC. The next and the last technology that we'll be covering is the the ocean salinity gradient. So basically, waters of different salt concentrations are held across a membrane, which causes the flow of ions or creates a potential difference or creates a pressure change, which then drives this particular technology. So with respect to ocean salinity gradient technology, so it's mainly categorized, two types of technologies have seen development, one being the pressure retarded osmosis, PRO technology, and one being the reverse electrodialysis, RED technology. Okay. So these are the different types of technology. And to quickly see how the technologies have been progressing so far, or how the technology development is happening, or how the future potential is. So we can see that the tidal barrage, so the one, we had seen how a tidal barrage looked like. So this is the technology that dominates the market with the most deployed capacities. So although going forward, tidal stream may be picking up. So which you can see in the next box that tidal stream and wave technologies are picking up and are being scaled up. And you can see capacities of 1 megawatt and more being successfully deployed. Also, if we see what is happening across the world, we can see that tidal stream is reaching commercial maturity compared to other technologies. And there is also a convergence of technology where horizontal axis water turbines are being used, and the technology convergence is happening towards horizontal axis water turbines. So wave energy is mostly in its prototype demonstration and scaling up phase. And also the wave energy technologies is yet to witness a definitive convergence towards a particular technology. So existing wave energies are being, how the technology is being deployed is through scaling up or deploying more such units in forms of arrays. So that is what is happening. So when it comes to the other technologies that we've seen, be it the ocean current, ocean thermal, or ocean salinity gradient, these have seen limited deployment and are mainly restricted to R&D phase, which means it's mostly related to research and development in labs. But this is expected to start picking up by 2030 and later. So this is a quick overview on how these different technologies are doing right now and what may happen in the coming future. So looking at some of the identified tidal power potential for India. So we can see that the states of Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, places located just onshore or off the coast of, the coast of Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal, combined the tidal power potential for India is estimated at about 12.5 gigawatt. And also, places where tidal power can be harnessed have been identified as Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Kambat in Gujarat, the Pak Bay or the Mana Channel in Tamil Nadu. And when it comes to West Bengal, you have areas like the Sundarbans, South Haldia, or the Hooghly River, where tidal power can be, we can set up plants to harness tidal power. Looking at the wave energy potential, so this is estimated at around 40,000 megawatt. So if we combine the wave plus tidal potential, it comes to about 52 gigawatt of potential that is there. And also there is not much information on the potential for the other technologies. So there is more scope for research and studies there. Also, when it comes to wave energy potential, the western coast is estimated or is studied. Studies have said that the western coast is estimated to be better at setting up wave energy projects. So that is why one of the first wave energy projects was set up in Kerala, which is on the western coast. So looking at the progress of different ocean energy technologies in India and some of the major developments in what has happened so far. So we can see that tidal energy is still in its R&D stage in India. And this is primarily due to, scaling up or massive deployment has not happened because it is, the capital cost is extremely high, and it is coming as high as about 30 to 60 crore per megawatt, which is considerably higher than the other SOARI technologies. Also, we have seen that previously there were tidal energy projects that were planned for different states, but that have not witnessed much success due to the same reason being the high capital costs for setting up these plants. Also, one of the first wave energy projects, 150 kilowatt pilot project, was set up in Vizhinjam in Trivandrum, but this was set up back in the 90s, but this was decommissioned in 2011. But there is a plan to set up a new 1 megawatt wave energy plant at a cost of about 15 to 20 crore in the, in Kerala itself. Also, there is a plan to set up a 65 kilowatt ocean thermal energy conversion plant in Lakshadweep. And also what we can see is that there is a need for more policies, R&D, and there's a need for more policies, R&Ds, etc. efforts, so that the existing potential can be harnessed as well as, and we can estimate the potential from the other technologies that have not been estimated so far. So with that, I would like to conclude my presentation, and then back to you, Kajol.
Thanks, Vaishak. Thank you for the presentation. As I see that there is a good potential for ocean energy in India, but there has been few challenges and barriers in scaling it up, considering from the finance side or from the maturity and the readiness of technology. And I think this has set the right context for us to now look at the next presentation, which is by Dr. Purnima Jadihar. She is a senior scientist who heads the Energy and Freshwater Group in National Institute of Ocean Technology in India. She has led device development for harnessing the ocean energy from wave, marine currents, and ocean thermal gradients, and has played a major role in developing the ocean thermal desalination technology. She is also she has also been in the committees of Indian government organizations related to water and renewable energy, and is the EU-led Clean Energy Mission for Innovative Champions of India 2020. So now I will let Dr. Purnima to start his presentation on giving a more detailed background on how does it looks at the Indian scenarios and what should be the next steps onto the ocean energy from NIOT. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kajol, for the introduction. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, we can see your screen. You probably want to go on the slide mode.
I already have gone to the slide mode. Is it showing like slide?
No, it's still showing on the presentation, not on the slide mode, not the presentation mode. Still, I can see all your slides.
Now? It's still showing the same way.
Yes.
So, I mean, let it be. We don't want to waste time, right? You can see the slides, right? That's what matters.
Yes. Yes.
So, thank you for the introduction. And yes, I think Vaishak just gave some very basic ideas of what type of energy we are talking about. So, first of all, I don't think most of you know what NIOT is. National Institute of Ocean Technology is the only institute in the country which is working towards developing technologies for resources from the ocean in a sustainable and uh, environmentally clean manner. So I'm heading the group on energy and freshwater as well as coastal and environmental engineering. And I'll just talk about what we have been doing so far. We also have our own vessels which we use for our R&D programs. We have a network of data buoys, and there are a lot of areas in deep sea as well, that developing deep sea technologies and deep waters that we are working on. So having said that, this is the Indian scenario. We have a very long coastline, uh, more than 7,500 kilometers. And the main thing is we have a very huge exclusive economic zone, about 2.1 square kilometer, because of the presence of the Lakshadweep and the Andaman group of islands. The green hashed area is our EEZ. And that makes it important for us to look at ocean energy as a resource. Now, if you talk about blue economy, which has become the buzzword today, we talk about ocean resources under the framework of blue economy. And then under that, we can talk about energy, water, food, and minerals. And energy, as Vaishak already has pointed out, there are of various forms: wave, tide, currents, thermal gradient, salinity gradient, biofuel. Offshore wind and floating solar PV are also considered as energy which you can have offshore. However, here the motive force is not seawater, so they are classified differently. In NIOT, actually, we have been working on mainly three forms till date: wave energy, currents, and thermal energy. I'll talk about them a little bit one by one. So as he said earlier, the Vizhinjam wave energy plant was one of the longest running wave energy plants in the world. When I took over the plant in 2003, there was power coming continuously, and we thought instead of wasting the power, we connected to an RO plant. And this was the first wave powered desalination system in the world, where water was from the seawater, fresh water was being generated from the seawater, and the energy was the driving force, or the energy for the plant was coming out of the ocean and out of the waves. So this was, we were supplying this water to the fishing community nearby for a couple of years, and then our priorities from the ministry changed, and therefore we decommissioned the system, having proven that, you know, it can be done. And we parallelly, we also
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am, but we're actually not able to see the slide changes also. So do you want me to share the screen? I have the presentation in the PDF form.
do that. Then you have not seen a single slide so far?
No, it's not actually moving. So I can share your presentation.
You do that. I've sent you the PDF, right? Please do that.
Yes.
But you will have to do the moving for me.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay. So next.
Yeah, 1 second. Can you see the screen?
Yes. Can everybody see? Yeah, so this was the EEZ slide, which I showed. The next. These are the forms that, yeah, and so, okay, so here we are. I was talking about this. So this was the first ever self-powered desalination plant, and our priorities changed. So we decommissioned this in the year 2006. Next. So then now, because we had larger programs on hand, we did not stop the wave energy activities, but we decided to move to floating devices for off-grid requirements in remote locations. And one of them was the backward bend ducted buoy, which was the first small offshore plant that we did several trials on. We developed everything in-house, including the turbine. It was an oscillating water column based device, and that was successful in all our trials offshore. Next. So this led to the development of the wave powered navigational buoy, Now, navigational buoys are required in all ports and harbors, and a lot of them are being still imported today, and they use solar panels for their power requirements. Now, here is a buoy that we have developed which generates power from the wave energy, and it lights the navigational lamp. But in addition, because it is generating more power than is required for the lamp, we are actually, with the port's requirements, we have actually put current meters and wind sensors and other sensors on the buoy. So the data goes to the port directly on a mobile, which is like a value addition for them, and they're very happy. So this is actually functioning in as one of the navigational buoys in the Ennore port today. Next, please. And then we have also transferred the technology to a few industries, and we will be shortly making more of those. Vaishak was talking about the tidal turbines, but actually you have to be very careful about how you define them. Tidal range is not something that we can do much in India. We have only 2 locations, the Sundarbans, where we can do a tidal range turbine. What is more possible are using tidal streams, and these are called hydrokinetic turbines. And this is something that we have again developed in-house, from the CFD analysis through the wave flume testing and all the way to the actual prototype demonstration in Andaman. And we are places like Andaman are requiring and have requested me for 1 to 5 kilowatt off-grid units, because they are security areas where there are just a few manpower in remote locations, and they don't have access to power or water. So this is also something that we have developed in-house and is ready to be scaled up. Next, please. For such, this is the demonstration that we did in Andaman. Just a few pictures of that. Next. So the in-house development of low-speed alternators had to be taken up, because around the Indian seas, actually the velocities of, because we wanted these turbines to be not only for tidal streams but also for ocean and that's marine currents. The currents are fairly low in the Indian waters, and the alternators for such low speeds are not available off the shelf, and so we have had to actually develop these in-house. So we have the entire power module, the turbine and the generator already developed in NIOT. Next. So now comes the ocean thermal gradient. As Vaishak had mentioned, as you go deeper, the water gets colder, and a large belt around the equator is where the temperature gradient hovers between 19 and 22 degrees Celsius, and this can be utilized to generate energy. Next. This is just a picture of the OTEC cycle. I'll talk about it later. Next. So way back in the year 2000, we actually were very ambitious, and we decided to put up the first ever floating 1 megawatt OTEC plant of Tuticorin. We built everything indigenously, including the barge that you see here. With the heat exchangers were imported. The pipe is a 1 kilometer long pipe of 1 meter diameter, and all the subsystems were tested. However, we could not deploy the pipe because the marine infrastructure in those days was not available. We did not have adequate infrastructure and vessels and the right kind of vessels to do this deployment. So the final connection of this pipe could not be made to the barge. And, we are the government, and we had to have a series of, review committees on how to take the project forward. So it was decided that we are yet not ready for deep waters. So let us do desalination, which again uses the ocean temperature gradient, but in shallower waters, maybe like 300 meters. Next, please. So this was the genesis of the first ever desalination plant in Kavaratti in Lakshadweep in the year 2005. And this uses the ocean temperature gradient to make just fresh water. And this has become so successful, it actually helped the local islanders to improve their health because they did not have access to clean water at all. This was followed by 2 more islands in Agatti and Minicoy. And today the Ministry of Home Affairs has funded NIOT for 6 more such islands in the remaining, 6 more such plants in the remaining islands. At the same time, we also, because of the mainland, the deep water is very far away. So we decided to also try a 1 million liter per day scaled up plant offshore of Chennai. And we went back to the same OTEC barge, and we again had a long pipeline, a 1 meter diameter pipeline. And so then offshore. We are also doing power plant based desalination, but I won't speak about that today. Next, please. So basically all desalination systems, the heart of the desalination system is the energy requirement. Next, please. So to that end, now we are going back to OTEC, and we have learned a lot in this last couple of decades. We have like really mastered the desalination technology. We are going back to OTEC because all these island plants are being powered by diesel generators. This time around, we are introducing the OTEC cycle. As Vaishak mentioned, this is going to be about 65 kilowatts. And this power will itself drive the desalination system. So we don't aim to produce extra power to pump to the grid. However, this will be just used for powering the desalination alone. So it will be a self-powered system. This has got a huge number of challenges. The two main ones are the complex turbine design, which will be done in India for the first time. It's already nearing completion. And then there's the longest cold water pipeline, which is about 4 kilometers long, and will be the end of which will be in 1,000 meters water depth, drawing water of the order of 7 to 7.5 degrees Celsius. Next, please. So having said that, these are all the technology developments that NIOT has been attempting and has been very successful so far. But what are the barriers for ocean energy to be scaled up and for taking off? One is that India still has a comparatively low marine infrastructure. The demonstration projects are not high enough in scale. There are a lot of perceived risks which may not be really risks. We have a lot of handle on offshore work right now, but still there are a lot of perceived risks. The techno-commercial viability is difficult to assess on small devices, and therefore funding becomes difficult for larger ones, which are capital intensive. And so this is a circular problem which needs to be mitigated in some manner. Next, please. So the Indian government, there is a lot of initiatives being taken by the Indian government currently in the last few years by developing several mission mode programs. I'm just mentioning four of them which are relevant here. The Blue Economy Policy, which is being led by Ministry of Earth Sciences, to which I belong. Desalination Mission, which is like being led by DST. Deep Ocean Mission, which is being led by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. And Hydrogen Mission will be led by the Ministry of New Renewable Energies, that is MNRE. Next, please. So under the Blue Economy Draft Policy, there are several priority areas. Number 6, if you see, consists of coastal and deep sea mining and offshore energy. And here's where ocean energy can, will have a place. Next, please. Some of the steps which are being taken for furthering ocean energy and desalination is that MNRE has now notified that tidal, wave, and OTEC can be considered as renewables, which means they are eligible for meeting the non-solar renewable purchase obligations. And therefore, MNRE recently had floated a call for proposals for renewable energies, which included ocean energy. The call is over and they are being evaluated. Parallelly, a desalination mission was started and there were calls out for funding proposals under that. Also, preferable ones under that call were those which are powered by renewable energy. Powered by ocean energy as well. Next, please. So under the Deep Ocean Mission, there are 6 verticals, and the one I'm leading right now is vertical 5, which is energy and fresh water from the ocean. So it consists of 2 large objectives. One is we are making a detailed project report for an offshore plant, which will have OTEC powering desalination, and we possibly will also be exploring the generation of hydrogen offshore. Okay, next, please. And there is a hydrogen mission. Our ministry also wants to be part of it by doing the hydrogen as we are doing it in the OTEC project. So it's important to see this in conjunction with renewables, and therefore offshore or OTEC and desalination could be looked at in conjunction with hydrogen, and that's what we are trying to design currently. Next, please. And lastly, the international efforts. So India, I struggled hard to make India a member country in the year 2016 of the Ocean Energy Systems Technology Collaboration Program under the International Energy Agency. The last couple of years, I have also become the vice chair of this committee. It consists of 24 member countries. Recently, we released a white paper on OTEC led by me for policymakers, because we thought it's important to educate policymakers because of the so many there are so many things that they don't know. So this was prepared by a subgroup of countries consisting of Japan, India, Korea, China, France, and the US. And this has been now released. New tasks that I have taken up under the OES TCP is one on OTEC economics, so that we plants, and also ocean energy powering desalination, so that because water is not all countries have this water issue. The water stress in India makes desalination important, but because of the energy requirements, ocean energy powering it can be a really a way forward. So I hope I've given you a flavor of all the things that are being done at the government level. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation. I think this was very insightful to understand what NIOT has been doing so far in terms of the different technology development, the deployment of the ocean technologies, and the studies that have been done so far. And as you rightly pointed out, some of the challenges and the barriers in this particular ocean energy sector, we would be hearing more from you during the panel discussion, but you have pointed out some of the very important challenges, especially on the finance side, because as we don't have the larger capacities, and that's where the scaling up is required to meet some of these challenges. And when especially we compare the ocean energy versus the already existing renewable energy, it becomes a multifold challenge to look from the finance side. So we'll be hearing more from you. We'll move on to our next presentation. We have Dr. VVS Sricharan. He is a scientist at Auxilia. He has been working quite extensively in the field of hydrodynamics. He has joined Auxilia after receiving a PhD in ocean energy from IIT Madras. And he has developed a deep focus on the ocean energy. So without wasting much time, I would request Sricharan to start his presentation and explain like how the the utility scale, especially when we just heard some of the pilots that has been going on in India, how from a technology supplier point of view and a developer point of view, you looks at the scaling up of some of these technologies. So over to you, Sricharan, for that.
Thank you, Kajol. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to be here. And I trust that 2022 has been going well for you all. Today, I will introduce to our company, Auxilia Power, and its cutting-edge wave energy technology engineered for Indian waters. Auxilia Power was established in 2009 in US. We have a subsidiary in India in the state of Kerala. We aim to offer commercially attractive wave energy systems with low cost, high efficiency, and survivability. We are also raising funds to enable community scale and utility scale demonstrations in India. Stats show a huge demand for such technologies, where the global energy market projected to reach more than $20 billion USD by 2027. So our aim is also we intend to have India as a global wave energy systems manufacturing hub, which is in line with the government of India's initiative Make in India and green energy policies and initiatives. At Auxilia Power, we are excited to be on the cusp of a significant milestone and a transition to our next phase as a company. Our Triton system has recently been named as a 2022 Invention of the Year by Time magazine, and we are looking forward to building on the momentum in the coming months. Our objective is to demonstrate India-specific utility-scale wave energy converter called Triton Wave Energy System near Adani Port at Vizhinjam. where we will exhibit cost-effective generation of electricity for Indian market by utilizing the domestic manufacturing facilities to its full potential. You can see an image on the left is the architecture of a Triton wave energy system. It has a surface float shown in the yellow color, which is floating on the sea on the ocean surface and connected to the seabed with the help of flexible tendons. The motion of this hull or the float in all the degrees of freedom will generate the power. The motivation behind the project is India has an indicative figure of 10 to 20 gigawatts of tappable wave resource. Therefore, we need a potential system which is to be optimized for Indian waters, which can create high energy production even at such moderate wave resources. It is also important to notice that, interestingly, wave is a lot more consistent, reliable, and predictable than other variable renewables. And also it provides better match with loads and by complementing solar and wind energy. As a result of higher power density, the wave energy systems need far less space to extract same amount of power. So that being said, it is extremely challenging, as my previous speakers are also pointed out, to extract it cost effectively. Even today, there is no commercial system. Yes, it is challenging, but there are benefits. That's why we all are pressing on hard, trying to develop such technology. So the Triton system is design of the Triton system is optimized through extensive hydrodynamic modeling and few lab tests. We have with an 1 megawatt rated power, we have an annual average power of 200 kilowatts with a competitive capacity factor 15 to 20%, which is close to onshore wind. So we have developed this device to be installed in arrays, thereby cutting down the cost of LCOE to less than under 7 rupees per kilowatt when we scale it in terms of solar and wind as of today. So this particular technology is also designed to survive in the extreme conditions. So in the west coast of India, Vizhinjam, the extreme conditions are far less relative to the east coast. Nevertheless, there are some extreme events which the device need to be survived. And being a floating system falling under the category of point absorber, it is simple to tow it from the shore to the point of location of interest and scale it up. So thereby reducing the cost of installation as well. And since it is floating and it is with the foundation system at the bottom, we have a minimal environment impact as well. So I would like to say a few details, share a few details of our project at Vizhinjam. As I said, it is designed for India specific with low energy climate, what we have here. The first pilot project cost is 19.8 crores in Indian rupees. And we have also submitted our proposal to MNRE. And the project is led by IIT Madras. And we also made an agreement with the Kerala State Electricity Board to purchase power when we scale it up and connect to the grid. So we intend to manufacture entire system in India and deploy it in Vizhinjam in a couple of years from now. And one thing we can, though India has low energy climate compared to US and Europe, one advantage what we can have is we have far less extreme events, especially in the West Coast, compared to such other European countries or US. So this can cut down substantially the cost, capital cost. So that's an added advantage for a system as well. So these are the project members. So IIT is a leading coordinator and we are the technology providers, where ENERT is providing us the logical support and permitting support. And Adani Vizhinjam International Seaport is providing the deployment support and the site access, where SETS, it is a marine design consultant based in Kochi, is also supporting us. So this is the plan from down the line from next 5 to 10 years. So we are at the end of 2022, as shown here. So we are in the stage of detailed development of the design of the concept of the technology what we have come up with, and we are aiming to demonstrate in the port of Vizhinjam in the coming couple of years, and then followed by we will be scaling up and connecting it to the grid thereby, that is one of the objectives what we have down the line in next 2 to 5 years. If you would like to know the latest updates on our project and other R&D and other commercial works, what we do, please check out the website. And if you would like to have some contact questions, and feel free to contact. We can have given you different email IDs. You can just feel free to contact through them. And so that's it from my side. And I would like to thank World Resource Institute India for providing the opportunity. And feel free to, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Sricharan, for this presentation. I think you went a little step further when you were looking at the scaling and what sizes of the, after the demonstration, and now that's looking at the scaling of the technologies. I think because we are just short on time, I will directly move on for the panel discussion. Thank you so much for the presentation. I will just like to introduce some of the speakers. Most of our speakers have already been given the presentation. So let me just introduce our next round of speakers. So for the panel discussion, we have Mr. Pramod Eni joining from ENERT. He's working as a scientist E2 in ENERT Department of Power, Government of Kerala, looking after the new technologies. As a part of the ENERT, he is involved in framing the wind energy policy of Government of Kerala. He has total 30 years of experience with more than 10 years of experience in the field of wind, mainly in the wind resource assessment and technical support. The next panelist that we have with us is Eliza Northrop. She is a senior associate in Sustainable Ocean Initiative, WRI. She leads the policy work for the initiatives and supports the Secretariat for High-Level Panel for Sustainable Ocean Economy and Friends of Ocean Actions. She's an international environmental lawyer with expertise in climate change, natural resource management, and indigenous rights. And the other panelists that we have is Dr. Purnima Jalihan and Dr. VVS Sricharan. And the panel will be moderated by Priyanka Shankar. She is a content coordinator at Mongabay, India. She writes and edits news stories about energy, biodiversity, and environment. She focuses on customizing the environment's storytelling for different platform and diverse news consumers. Her work on the desk is to make sure that the news is fact-checked and accurate. So now I request Priyanka to start the panel discussion. So over to you, Priyanka.
Thank you, Kajol, and thank you, WRI, for this opportunity to moderate this session. And thanks to Vaishak, Dr. Purnima, and Sricharan as well for the detailed presentations that covered the overview of ocean technology, India's and NIOT's efforts, and the latest technology from the industry perspective. Now, I would not delve deep again into what ocean technology is because we've gotten a detailed picture. So marine renewable sector is a very less explored and less developed renewable sector compared to other renewable energy systems, as we now understand. And this comes with both opportunities and challenges. Challenges such as the huge investment challenges for installing the infrastructure, maintenance costs and operation costs, the need for a proper supply chain structure, public-private partnership, and more. But there's also this opportunity for India to get this RE system right. Ocean Energy Systems, a technology collaboration program under the IEA that Dr. Purnima described that India has recently become a member due to NIOT efforts. In its 2022 report said that by 2050, the ocean energy has a potential to have deployed 300 gigawatt of installed capacity. And this includes all of the types of technology mentioned in the first presentation, waves, tides, ocean thermal energy, and so on. But commercializing this ocean energy has remained slow in the past few decades. But with global pressure on India to meet its net zero targets by 2070 and also increase its RE capacity, the case for ocean energy, along with other alternative renewable energies, has grown stronger. And although its contribution to the energy mix overall globally is also less. Many countries now around the world are improving their technology when it comes to ocean energy, and it's finding its space finally in international energy discussions. To first understand the recent developments on the global front, I would like to begin by asking Ms. Eliza Northrop from WRI. In the Blue Ambition Loop report that was released recently, there's a lot of mention about ocean energy. And in that segment, there's a lot of mention about offshore wind, but very less mentions about wave energy or tidal energy. So let's start with the recently concluded climate conference COP27. Can you tell us if there were any key takeaways in the Ocean Pavilion, or how we can translate the ambition that we have in the report to action? Over to you, Ms. Eliza.
Thank you so much. I think I'll start by saying, again, sort of echoing those thoughts about the potential in this sector, particularly for this region. The Ocean Panel, sort of one of the initiatives that I work for, released analysis back in 2019, actually, that quantified the emission reduction potential from a number of ocean-based climate solutions, one of which was ocean-based renewable energy. The report found that fully scaling up ocean-based renewable energy, wind, and all of the technologies that we've been talking about today could reduce greenhouse gas emissions globally by about 5.4 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent annually by 2050. About 2 gigatons of that was from ocean energy, so a little under half. So a huge potential, even if we don't see it now, in terms of the role that these alternative ocean-based technologies, wave and tidal, will play in that sort of final energy mix for ocean-based energy back in 2050. Also to say that I think we're starting to see these technologies being referenced in nationally determined contributions. We did analysis just before COP27 that was also launched at COP27, looking at the new and updated NDCs. The first round back in 2015 sort of barely mentioned any of these technologies. In the new and updated NDCs, we had 16 nationally determined contributions refer to ocean-based renewable energy, the majority of which were from Asia. So again, sort of globally, a huge potential, I think, particularly for this region, as you mentioned, to play a leading role. In terms of what COP27 was saying, I think, you know, that shift in interest in commitments that I just mentioned in nationally determined contributions has made it through to the COP itself, I suppose, from the side event and the pavilion side, so not the core negotiating side. You know, when I was going years ago, there was no mention of ocean-based technologies, ocean-based renewable energy. This most recent COP, even though there wasn't, you know, a formal day in the presidential schedule or any formal focus, there were so many events. There's so much private sector presence and engagement in events, obviously talking about offshore wind, both fixed and floating, but really starting to talk about these emerging technologies as well as not just being, you know, possible, but really starting to enter the dialogue as commercially viable and as priorities that governments really needed to start turning their attention to in terms of investing in research and development, and how governments can play a role in helping to stimulate some of these industries and the right types of development, I suppose, which was another theme at COP27, particularly the ocean-based renewable energy discussions that I was in, is finding a way to not only seize the emission reduction potential from these technologies and their role within national mitigation strategies, but doing so in a net positive way for nature. I think this COP in particular was very aware that it was happening weeks before COP15 of the, you know, Convention on Biological Diversity and a new really a desire from governments and really private sector, actually. Ørsted has been really leading this within the ocean-based energy space, of any ocean-based technology needing to advance biodiversity, find ways to protect, conserve, promote the marine biodiversity at the same time as, reaping all these climate benefits. So yeah, that was a really big takeaway at this COP that we hadn't seen before.
Thank you, Eliza, for that brilliant overview about the ocean energy space in the international front. I now want to zoom in a bit and talk about India's progress in ocean energy. So we've heard from Dr. Purnama about what all efforts have been taken by NIOT. India has a coastline of 7,600 kilometers, which can be explored for the generation of ocean energy. But many of the projects have been shelved or are in the R&D stage, or some projects have been decommissioned as well. But now India is one of the 24 member countries, as Dr. Purnama mentioned, that's part of the OES technology collaboration. And India's Deep Ocean Mission that plans to support ocean energy initiatives and MNRE's support for the development of ocean energy technologies has been highlighted in the OES reports. And earlier this month as well, we see the shift in priority for the government, and Central Center for Policy Research in Maritime Studies was also announced as one of the initiatives in which ocean energy is highlighted once again. So Dr. Purnama, how can this support from the government? Like you mentioned, there are several mission mode programs. How can this help solve some of the challenges that you mentioned earlier with respect to the finance needed, or the previous low success with the projects that we faced before? How can this support from the government help us incorporate these changes in the upcoming projects? Over to you.
Thanks to everybody on the panel for what I would like to say in this context is that there are 3 stages, in my opinion, where we need to take technologies forward, especially in this kind of an area, which is like kind of unknown. So there is first a lack of knowledge or information. Okay, so we need to correct that first. Okay, the second thing is that once there is a small segment of policymakers, if they come to know that this is something that needs to be taken forward, there is an education required as to what are those levels at which we can, what capacities are we capable of. See, it's not just the it's easy to say there's 40,000 megawatt or so much of gigawatts possible, but you can't take a project from the lab with 100 watts to a gigawatt all of a sudden. It doesn't work that way. The scaling is extremely difficult. The ocean possesses its own nature, which is very, very, very difficult to quantify. There are lots of non-linearities that we have to work with. So it has to be done in a stepwise manner. For that you need funding. So this is the second point. I mean, first is the ignorance of what can be done. Second is, even if you know, then what are the levels of these can fund you for this. Okay, and the third is, there is a serious problem in India. As a researcher, I can tell you, the industry is still not ready. Okay, the marine infrastructure and industry is not ready. There is the profit margins that the industry wants, and the perceived risks, that some of the perceived risks are true, some of them are just simply perceived. So how to bring the industry on board while taking a bold step and helping R&D and scientists to actually put up the projects in the field and in the ocean. There's a, it's still very, very nebulous. There is neither too many. Right now, the government is in the mood of encouraging startups, and I'm also in this mode of helping some startups through my connects, to get them into a funding mode and those kind of things. I'm helping youngsters to do that as well, but it's still in the infancy. So these 3 stages, there is a lot to be done in all these 3 stages. And therefore, I took up this job of putting up the white paper in OTEC, the OES, merely because if I want to go and tell the minister in Hindi, I mean, they would say, "Kya hai ye OTEC?" Or what is OTEC all about? So there should be a simple book which they can read and say, okay, then there's something here and we need to do this. What is wave energy? That kind of thing. So like knowledge and information dissemination, I think still needs to play a large role along with the actual, the finance, in my opinion, is still secondary, but there is a large gap between what the scientists, what the technologists can do, and what the government policies are.
Thank you, ma'am, for making us understand what it would look like when we actually start to understand the knowledge gaps and how it can bridge a lot of the understanding issues. Mr. Pramod, I'm coming to you for narrowing the topic further down to Kerala. What do you think were some of the reasons for the limited success of the previous Vizhinjam project? And do you think that the suggestions or the funding help or other government initiatives from MNRE and MOES can provide support, and can this help the next project that we are planning?
Question was not very clear to me. Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So we've had limited success with the previous Vizhinjam project. So do you think that these support provided by MNRE, the Deep Ocean Mission and other mission mode support provided from the government, can they help the upcoming project? And what were the reasons for the limited success of the previous one?
First of all, we cannot term it as a limited success because it was intended as an experimental setup and it has served the purpose of that. It was doing powering the desalination plant very well for the period for which it was in operation. So it has served its purpose. But what was missing is some follow-up actions. Based on that project, we should have moved further on. That probably didn't happen. Maybe it has got some reasons. But anyway, the technology has now progressed more, and maybe OSILA is having a very good technology and they are trying to optimize it for the Indian waters. So now the scenario is different. And again, they have the resource assessment done, or they have the data with them. So with that, they should be able to do some corrections in the design or general design and make it perfectly okay for the Indian waters. So maybe this should be a success anyway. And India, particularly Kerala, has got a very long coastline compared to the area available. Kerala has got some 590 kilometers of coastline, but the total area is only some 38,000, nearly 39,000 square kilometers. So compared to the total area, it has got a very long coastline. So once it is successful, there is a chance that we could replicate it along the coast. And total potential as per the IITM report in Kerala is around 4 gigawatts. So if we are able to harvest at least some 25% of that, itself is a very good achievement. But how much time it will take for that, I don't know. We have to wait and see. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Pramod. But do you think that the support from the Deep Ocean Mission and other missions would help the upcoming project, or how, or what other support do you think that would help, state level for Kerala to achieve at least?
What I foresee, finance, of course, is a requirement. But apart from that, the major obstacle will be getting permissions, that permits and approvals. So there is a sort of gray area in that what all permits need to be taken which all government organizations we have to approach and get the approvals. So we need to have a little more clarity on the requirement side. And being the first time, maybe there will be slight hitches on getting the approval. So how we are able to overcome those resistances, that is one point. This is government approvals and other things. Then environmental issues. So how we are able to have some measures to mitigate those aspects, and other social impacts, because we are installing it in the ocean. Maybe fisherfolk will have some apprehensions whether they will lose their job or whether it is beneficial to them. So we should be able to convince them that there is no harm for them, or
this
should understand it. This is
sorry. No, the social and environment impact I'm coming back to in the upcoming question. So first I'll come to the industry perspective. Dr. Sricharan, you explained pretty well about how this latest technology from Oscilla uses minimal disturbance to environment and so on. But before we come to the environment impact part, how do you foresee this market in India, and do you think this support for bridging the knowledge gap, as mentioned by Dr. Purnama, and any other financial funding supports could help the industry? And how do you think we can encourage more companies and more startups to explore this sector? Dr. Sricharan, you're on mute.
Okay, so thanks for the question. I hope I'm audible now. So as you can see that to get different supports in terms of as Mr. Pramod has highlighted, the permissions and the financial side. So that's why we are in coordination with the IIT Madras in terms of research side. We can have there's a gap between the reality, economically viable aspects and the theoretical technology science, and also working with the different organizations, government organizations to reduce that hiccup or hitches which we might face till we reach the demonstration phase. So it's another challenge, not only in terms of financial, but also to get different players in place. What I mean to say is, as Dr. Purnima ma'am also highlighted, like there is a need for an in-house systems to be in place, because this is a very niche market and you can't get a generator or electrical units directly from someone. We need to do an R&D and also come up with some solutions of every aspect, every vertical of it. And so initially that would be a challenge, apart from the financial and also the technical, the permissions as well.
Sure, thank you. So to harness ocean energy in a just manner, it is also vital that India learns from the challenges that we've had in the previous renewable energy systems, such as onshore wind or solar. And this is where understanding the environment and social impact comes into question, because it's an important topic to discuss. And I'm curious, we've been reporting on energy and this keeps coming up. So I'm curious to understand how the industry is developing its understanding on the social and environment impact. So the first question about environment impact, I'll continue with you, Dr. Sricharan. You mentioned that the tech has advanced so well, right? So even in your presentation, you spoke about how low environmental impact it can have. So there are different structures, as mentioned in the first PPT, say like tidal turbines or buoys, or for trapping wave energy or tidal barrages. So these can be installed either near shore or offshore. And as Eliza mentioned in the first question, it is important to meet the biodiversity and marine ecosystem goals as well. So how are these technologies capable of meeting this environmental impacts as well? And that it's a twofold challenge now. that you also mentioned it is capable of withstanding heavy storms as well. So is climate change also, intensifying cyclones, and does that affect the infrastructure? And is industry ready for both aspects, both for minimal environmental impact and to brace for the impacts of intensifying marine cyclones?
Yeah, so thank you. So the answer to your first question is, we did have a study on the environmental impact when we were starting our project. So a study was conducted by the Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute based in Belgium in 2018. So we have demonstrated, shown them the concept, the project, what we are going to do. And according to that, they state that the Triton Foundation, so we have a system floating on the water, and we have flexible tendons, and we have a solid concrete foundation at the bottom. So this helps, the concrete foundation will act as an artificial reef, and will also provide artificial fish habitat, and thereby attract, aggregate, and regenerate fishery resources in that area of installation, as well as the vicinity around it. So in that way, this minimizes, I don't say completely vanishes, but it minimizes the impact on the marine. And also specifically the concept, the technology what we are coming up is, it doesn't have any rotating or blades or sharp elements attached to it beneath the floor on the surface, where the fishes go in and out, and they might get harmed, or marine animals will get harmed. So most of the part is, a large chunk of it is on the surface of the water, and thereby minimizing the environmental impact. So coming to your second question, so survival. So fortunately, India's wave potential in the west coast is higher, and also the storm frequency is comparatively less than the east coast. You can see a lot of cyclones coming now and then around the coast of Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and Bay of Bengal. So that you won't see that much in west coast. So that being an advantage, nevertheless, there are design wave conditions which are accounted in our technology to be 6 meters and 10 meters. So the technology will stay for 20 meters in the water, 20 years in the water, right? It generates continuous power. There might be some minimal checkings here and there, and to retrofit something like that, but it stays for a long period of time. So there is something called as return period. So a wave or an extreme events can occur in that particular time frame. So we do, from the research by IIT Madras, CIRIL, and other government organizations, National Institute of Oceanography, NIOT, INCOIS, Hyderabad. So we got the data of 6 meters of design wave height need to be considered. So at that stage, our technology will go into the survival stage. So as a simple rule of thumb, the wave energy is higher on the surface. As we go beneath into the water, the forces reduce. So what we're trying to do is to minimize the loads by submerging into the ocean for a particular period of time, or a particular instant of the the storm events, then coming out of the water. This complete scenario happens automatically with the control systems and without any human interaction. So I think that hopefully answers your question.
It does. I just have a mini follow-up question on that. Is corrosion also an important aspect to deal with, and are the new metals or materials developing accordingly to meet those challenges?
So I'm not aware of new materials as such, but what we do generally is sacrificial anodes, what we keep on the surface of the water. And we do have a lot of companies come up with advanced paintings as well, with have its properties in it to withstand a much long period of time. And so that's the challenge, I agree. But as of now, the industry is scoping up, is using sacrificial anodes. We can see the large vessels and ships, barges, to use such technology to minimize the corrosion or prolong its life.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sricharan. And now on to the socio-economic impacts. Now this question is for both Mr. Pramod and Dr. Purnama, because providing socio-economic returns and job creations, these two are the important components that are mentioned in the 5-year plan of the Ocean Energy Systems strategic plan, of which India is now a member country. Now the first year is almost over, there's 4 years left. And in Kerala, the renewable energy policy from 2002 states a brilliant line. It says, waves smashing on the shores belong to the whole community. So with these two principles in mind, how can the country and the states make sure that we keep the rights and interests of the coastal communities in mind while installing new ocean energy systems?
Should go first.
Dr. Purnima, you can go first and then.
Okay, thank you. So basically from the socio-economic, I just want to also add a sentence about the environmental thing that you just asked, because in the OES, you seem to have gone to the site. So you can check, there is a document on the environmental aspects as well. OES we have been funding the environmental issues as well. It is done by PNNL in the US. And I am working with them as well for the next set of tasks that is going on. And there are specific, you should also understand that your question on corrosion was very right, because there are specific issues in India and the topics which are not existing or are existing to a much reduced level in the northern latitudes. And corrosion and biofouling, these are like very, very challenging in Indian waters. Okay, I mean, this is just to put things in perspective, but let me talk about so from the social aspect, there is a lot of there are a lot of misgivings among the fisher folk. Many times when we go out to do the projects, they don't understand that it is for their benefit and not detrimental. So there is a lot of again, creation of a knowledge base and making them understand the impact of it, and there are how it is going to help them in their daily life. So that is at a social level. Having said that, how should it help them? It should be environmentally safe. And in India, the other additional thing which we need to keep in mind is operation and maintenance has to be very, very simple, cheap, and practically negligible. The desalination plants that I talked about, they are being run by the islanders who have not even cleared 8th grade. Okay, the technology has to be that simple. It has to be robust, and you have to take care while designing. The question on corrosion that you asked is, you have to take care of the right materials in the design. So we always design plants for a 20 to 20-year life, okay, with low O&M, so that it becomes easy for the locals to adapt to it and accept it. So apart from the knowledge base, your designs should be such that the locals will want to use it. Now, from the islanders for the desalination, they are begging us to give them the water using this technology. So that's where it's 100% success. And that's how the ocean energy devices also eventually need to be, so that the society gets aware that this is required for them. And like in the Andamans, when we demonstrated, the forest department has come to me requesting, please put these devices all along the southern Andaman coast. So when they feel the need and they feel that it is not detrimental to them, they will automatically come. Okay, so that is from the societal aspects. And environment, I already told you. So I just want to add one sentence. I know we're running out of time. The tidal range turbines have right now been kind of discontinued around the globe because there was a lot of environmental impact. Okay, whether it's Korea or France, there have been severe environmental impacts. But at the same time, when you have off-grid devices, the challenge is, we know that there is marine life around. We know we want to protect it. So how should our designs be made so that they are sustainable and not detrimental to the marine life? It's a challenge, but we need to do that. And all of us as scientists and engineers do work towards that. Thank you.
Mr. Pramod, if you could continue the response to that.
So when we talk about social issues, I am reminded of some issue during the installation of wind farms. So the local people or villagers, they used to believe that these big fans, that is wind electricity generators or wind turbines, as they are called, they will drive away the rain clouds. because it is rotating and it will drive away the clouds. That is what they were believing. So there had to be a committee appointed to study this effect, and there was a report stating that there is no such thing. That means these turbines, they don't drive away the clouds. So now that issue is not there. So maybe in the case of wave energy plants also, we have to have some sort of strategy like this. If there are, or maybe before start of the plant itself, we have to talk with them and understand what their issues could be, and we have to find out technical understanding of those things, and we should be able to convince them. That is one point. Another is these waves they belong to everybody. So the benefits from these waves also should belong to everybody. So if energy from waves, if they are the cheapest source of power, then we should exploit that and generate electricity, and we should be able to supply to the public so that they can enjoy power at a lower rate.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Pramod. So in the interest of time, I'm going to the final question. And I have this from Ms. Eliza. It's about knowledge sharing and international collaboration. And I'd request other panelists also to continue her response if you have any further points. So there are projects that we have in Scotland, Japan, Wales, Germany, Australia, and more that have new and very interesting technologies and infrastructure. A company in Scotland is using the existing infrastructure developed by oil companies to power the wave energy infrastructure. There's a company in Germany that's trying to attach the new infrastructure to the existing offshore wind turbines. So it seems like there's so much to learn from the success, failure, and challenges of implementing different ocean energy systems in different countries. So how do you think we can enable this international knowledge sharing and collaboration, and what are the efforts underway for that? Over to you, Eliza.
I'll be very quick on this. I think we have to have collaboration and knowledge sharing between governments. I think there's a huge amount of lessons to be learned in the role that national, state, local governments have promoted the use of these technologies, overcome some of these environmental and social risks. So I think there is sort of a government need for collaboration and knowledge sharing globally. I also think there's a huge demand, as you were mentioning, for collaboration and knowledge sharing among companies, which I know is not, the norm, but I think in some of these emerging technologies and areas, particularly that I suppose, aspects of the work that is, less sensitive in terms of the actual technology and some of these biodiversity challenges, environmental challenges. I know a lot of companies are trialing a lot of different pilots to try to work out how to do this in the best way possible. And I think it would be tremendous if that knowledge sharing was able to be aggregated or brought together. There's only one sort of example, and I know there's probably many more that I've been involved with personally, which is the Ocean Renewable Energy Action Coalition that formed in 2020. It's about 10 companies, ocean-based renewable energy companies globally that joined together to try to advance the industry globally and put together best practice, pull together case studies, good examples of different partnerships with government, what worked, what didn't work, and try to foster those connections with government as well. So I think we need more of that type of genuine partnership between companies, just so that we can move quicker in this space, I think, so that not everyone has to go through the same trial and error process, so that we can really harness some of those benefits much more quickly.
Dr. Sricharan, Dr. Purnama, if you have any other points for, suggestions for international collaboration, knowledge sharing, if you could add that.
Yeah, so one of the things that we are aiming, I mean, OES is trying to do exactly this, how to have multi-country collaborative efforts. And many of the tasks are, with India, being part of it now, OTEC has also taken on, more center stage, because otherwise it was so Europe centric, with wave energy and tidal alone. But now more countries are also getting interested in OTEC, and for them, in case somebody succeeds in OTEC, it is a good business proposition for the West as well, right? So it's a synergy. Even if we develop the technology, it's okay for the West because it becomes a kind of a commercial objective. On the other hand, we can learn from their successes and failures, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So international collaborations do help a lot, especially in niche areas like this. But we must remember one thing. Oscilla Power has come to us several times. I have reviewed the technology, so I don't want to talk about Oscilla Power, but there is another similar point observer based device which they tried to bring into India, and I'm on the technical committee of the MNRE. So what happens is, I'm talking in the context of international collaboration. When we take devices from abroad, we should ensure that they work well in the Indian environment. Just blindly bringing a device and making it doesn't work that way, because our wave climates and wave periods are very, very different. And apart from them being low in magnitude, we have something called the monsoons in India, which no other part of the world has. So the designs have to cater to all that, and therefore, while we are in the general ambit of international collaborations, we should also see what really works well for our country when we take technologies from abroad. Thank you.
Sure. If Sricharan has anything to add.
Yeah. One of the things what we're trying to do or adopt from that is we have mitigated some risks, what we can see in the wave energy deployments. So we have constructed a 1:6 scale prototype Titan system in US, and it is being deployed in Hawaii, where it will be tested for 1 year in actual sea conditions. So that will definitely help in the Indian scenario. What are the risks, what we can observe in real life condition, and so that we can try to learn from that from that 1 year of experience what we can have, and try to mitigate them in Indian scenario as well. So definitely yes, there will be these synergies, or the collaboration will definitely help.
Thank you so much to all the panelists. Now I hand over to Kajol for the question and answer session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for this session. And on behalf of entire WRI team, we sincerely appreciate and your valuable contribution, and to all the panelists who have brought in different kind of the understanding and learnings from the ocean energy technology point of view, and especially finding it time to contribute for this webinar. I know for Eliza, it's pretty late in the night, but thank you for sitting here and contributing and bringing in the international and the global angles. And the different kind of technologies. I know, I learned so much, and it's very difficult to summarize all of that in just a very few words. And it will be very interesting to see how this moves in future, because as we are looking at the scaling up and the acceleration for the clean energy technology work, it's just that the navigation of the whole conversation and the practical solutions that has been come up. I'm looking forward to see how we can bring in more changes around the ocean energy technology. And thank you, Priyanka, once again for the moderation. I will quickly hand it over to Vaishak. But before that, let me just check if there are any questions. We'll just take a one round. If there are no more questions, then I hand it over to Vaishak. Some of the questions have already
Yeah.
been answered during the
I guess
session itself.
some have already been answered in
Yeah,
chat.
yeah. So Vaishak, please go ahead and give your concluding remark,
Yeah.
and then
Sure,
we can
sure.
probably close the webinar.
So, yeah, so I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank all the participants for joining and then taking the time out and contributing to this discussion. So I am actually finding it difficult to summarize all the key points because so many were made. But like some of the key points that were mentioned during the presentation. So it was interesting to learn about like the buoy that was powered by wave energy. And also one interesting point was where like there is a need to develop in-house technologies like a low-speed alternator. So this actually something similar to what we have seen in the case of small wind turbines, where there is a lack of supply chain. And when you tailor make things for our Indian condition, which is basically beat wind speed, etc., when it comes for lower wind speeds, you need to, do the manufacturing of all the components in-house. So, this just reminded me of that. And also, it was also extremely interesting to learn about how like the low temperature thermal desalination plant in Lakshadweep has benefited the local community. Also, we saw some of the barriers with respect to the low marine infrastructure and some of the perceived risks that is standing in the way of ocean energy development. And also, it was pretty interesting to learn like the global wave energy market can reach, a whopping 21 billion by 2027, and very accelerated CAGR, a very high CAGR number of about 23%. And also, we saw some of the situations where like we need to tailor make the wave energy systems or certain technical systems for our Indian context. And we saw how the Triton wave energy systems were being, modified with the India specific design. And also the fact that it was pointed out that wave power can be more consistent, predictable with a greater power density when compared to wind and solar. So this is also quite surprising to me. When it comes to the panel discussion, some of the key highlights that I can conclude with, or that I can point out, was that from the COP27, that there was a greater private sector engagement with the greater interest from these parties on the newer technologies. And also some of the issues that were pointed out during the panel discussion that is standing in the way of furthering wave energy would be like the need for knowledge and information dissemination, and the need for policy R&D funding, etc. Okay. And also one of the things that was highlighted more frequently is that there is the need for funding, but there is also gray area when it comes to permits and approvals. So I guess although I've missed out a lot of points, in view of the time, I will conclude with that. So thanks once again for all the panelists, participants, speakers for being a part of it.
Thank you, everyone. Just for last photo, I think Ahona, would you like to take the photo now, and then for the rest we can close the webinar?
Sure. Just give me 1 second. And
so I guess all the cameras are already on. So
yeah. Done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.